everybody. We are here for the final top 8 match over here at Utah Regionals, and we've seen some pretty good stuff so far.
I think the last 3 matches I did were awesome.
Yeah, like that last one before the Eevee game was just absolutely wild, but I think we're in for a treat for this next one as well. I'm really excited. This one features Joseph Selmer against Giovanni.
Joseph Selmer?
Oh, sorry. What's his
Joseph
name?
Selmer?
Yes.
Joseph Selmer?
The
modern gamer.
And, of course, Giovanni
Costa, the one
and
Gio
only.
himself.
And I think this is actually pretty exciting because Gio was
really
a player who pretty much exclusively used Eevee. I'd call him the best Eevee player,
I
last
agree.
year, by
Hands
far.
down.
Like, he was the one who was constantly reinventing that archetype.
Yeah.
He brought it to every tournament. And so I think for us to be able to watch him use a completely different team and strategy, I think is really cool because I think most people associate him as the Eevee player. Now he's showing us he doesn't need that.
He has quite the history with the Wimgar combo as well. That's where he made Day 2 Worlds in 2016.
Yeah, that's also a great point. Like 2017, he was using Eevee all the way through, but 2016, he top-cut the World Championships with the really cool Dual Primals team with that Whimsicott and that Gengar.
Well, part of me is honestly surprised he hasn't tried to meld the ideas and use Mega Gengar or Eevee, but, feel free to use whatever you want.
Well, I think we're in for a treat. And his opponent, Joseph, also, I think, he had a pretty good regionals finish, I want to say.
I think it was SoCal.
I think so, too, So he's definitely someone who has been in the scene for a while. I want to say he at least qualified for Worlds in 2016.
I think so.
But he's definitely, I think, like, looking for kind of a couple more names or accomplishments to really put under his belt. And, Gio actually has a bunch of good tournament finishes, but he hasn't won anything, like, major. He's not won a regional.
It's unfortunate.
I'm not sure if he's even made it to, like, top 4 regionals before, so I think he might be looking for his first trophy as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got a great classic West Coast showdown, commentated by a bunch of great classic West Coast boys.
And we're getting right into
it. Looking at team preview from Gio, we have Whimsicott, Gengar, Tapu Bulu, Staraptor, and Incineroar. Gio losing his Caesar to a team sheet error.
In the beginning of the tournament.
Like after round 1, against the modern gamer himself, running Manectric, Porygon 2, Tapu Fini, Incineroar, Virizion, and Braviary, a Pokemon that I predicted to make an appearance in our pregame show earlier this morning.
Yeah, and we're going to get right into it, but this is exciting, I think. Gio not having Scizor won't really hurt him too much. It doesn't look like it's really hurt him at all today.
I don't even want to have it.
If he can go through the whole day, he literally...
He's handicapping himself for the other.
And I think he literally won rounds 1 through 5, 2-0'd every set. After losing Scizor. So Gio's been on a roll right now. He's already qualified for Worlds after this tournament.
Yeah, he got it at before cut. He only needed top 16, and he guaranteed it at round 5.
He's looking to take it further. We're going to see the Braviary and the Manectric lead against the Gengar and the Staraptor. I like this. The battle of the birds.
Dude. And the Megas.
Yeah. And, this is such an exciting interaction, especially because the Intimidate is going to come out here from the Staraptor. We all know that Braviary, of course, does have the Define ability, so now its attack is going to be sky high. But like you mentioned, also really interesting interaction here. You got the double Megas.
Yeah, not only that, but Staraptor, Staraptor's primary role, I would say, since 2014 has been Final Gambit. So that getting that attack boost on Braviary just there, getting the Manectric, it's not too bad when you can get a free KO early on.
It's a great point, as Incineroar is going to swap in, and I think Incineroar probably one of the best answers to have against a Mega Gengar, which typically really can't touch it. Going to get the Intimidate off that. It might not matter against the Raptor if it goes for the Final Gambit, like you mentioned, which is typically pretty much the most common attack. It tries to nuke something, trade 1 for 1, so you're in a favorable position. It makes a lot of sense with the Mega Gengar. Mega Gengar, of course, coming out on the field now. And it's actually opting not to protect Braviary is going to be the one to protect here. So it's still going to be able to survive this turn. Final Gambit is going to go into the protect. So Staraptor not losing itself and the Icy Wind coming out.
Wow. A little risky just because of somehow. I mean, it was impossible for Braviary to really take that realistically. But just the idea that you're going to Icy Wind in its face is quite risky in and of itself. But I think that was not only the most expected play for me from Joseph, but a very safe one as well. You've now created a situation where you can fake out Staraptor. That's Choice Scarf all the time, no protect. You might get the switch, but that's still effectively a null slot for the turn, and you can get something like a free Tailwind. You can just get a free attack off. There's a lot of options for Joseph right here.
Yeah, so Staraptor is going to swap going out into Whimsicott, so trading a little bit of that offense for something that is a little bit more supportive.
No
Bomb
fake
comes
out.
No fake out, and that's a critical hit, but that actually is going to do enough to activate the berry. So that crit actually could be slightly beneficial in the sense that it ends up with more HP, but of course it is going to lose its item. The Brave Bird here is going to come out from the Braviary, of course boosted from that Defiant, is going to target down that Gengar. Is it enough to knock it out?
No
it is
problem.
Pretty cleanly. Of course, Mega Gengar's defense stat pretty low, and that is going to be a knockoff going into the Whimsicott slot as well. So doesn't take that much damage, and more importantly, Whimsicott does not actually lose an item, indicating that it does have the Z move.
Yes. I mean, Gio loves Z move Whimsicott. I think he's used it almost the entire season. Never been a big fan of Focus Sash. He just feels that Z move pressure, especially considering you get the Prankster priority, is just so good. So after returning to the field, creating another Final Gambit situation once again, Joseph would really have to cycle that Intimidate quite well to be able to prevent it from doing that. But it might be a point in the game where the Final Gambit is just so much less effective. You already lost Gengar. You have Whimsicott out, and it doesn't really even have a terrain to get off that really nice Z nature power that it's been known for.
Yeah, I think one of the main things right now is that with Gio's side, like, he just has a lot of Pokemon, but they are not Pokemon that necessarily do a lot of damage. Staraptor, you want to trade 1-for-1, but if you can't do that in the beginning of the game, then it gets a little bit more awkward.
Yes.
We saw it give Braviary obviously another Defiant boost, so Braviary is at +2. It's easily going to KO anything, and here is the Z move coming out, it looks like. I believe that is the Normalium Z from the Whimsicott, so probably going to be a nature power right now.
Yeah, it is. But not only is it a nature power, it's a nature power without terrain.
So it's a Breakneck Blitz coming out right now. Let's see if this is actually enough to knock something out, because honestly, normal Whimsicott is pretty weak. That's actually one of the funniest animations I've ever seen. Targeting the Braviary, is it going to be enough? No. It's not going to be enough, but Brave Bird here will come out. So Staraptor not going for the Final Gambit, and I think that's important because that Final Gambit right now actually probably puts you in a deficit.
Yes.
We'll get the knockout there onto Braviary, but that does allow the Incineroar to get another attack off. It's going to be the Flare Blitz, presumably going to target down the Whimsicott. Let's see. It is going to target down the Whimsicott, so Whimsicott will faint, and I think Joseph is off to a pretty good start because he knows the Staraptor now has to commit to that Braviary. We know the Manectric is in the back as well.
Yeah, I think it has to be Tapu Bulu in the back, realistically. Incineroar is possible, but it's very scary to bring double Intimidate against Braviary. So Manectric returning to field, revealing that Tapu Bulu. Staraptor locked into the Brave Bird. I mean, the Brave Bird made a lot of sense. I really enjoyed that it gave Braviary a taste of its own medicine. But you have an electric type and a fire type against a bird and a bull.
Right.
It's not a good position for you at all. And honestly, even I agree that Caesar was not a Pokemon that you would really want in this matchup anyway. But just looking at this team preview, really, it's very hard for Gio here. I think Joseph has a lot of options to be able to contain Gio's offense from the get-go very well. Yeah,
and I think part of it, as Manectric is going to Mega Evolve, so yeah, that's actually really crucial, getting the Intimidate off against both of these Pokemon. And we know that the Staraptor is already locked into Brave Bird, so it has to commit to that. Yeah, well, part of it is just like Joseph has like a pretty bulky team with a lot of disruption.
Yes.
So the Brave Bird is going to come out. This is going to be a pretty big turn, but part of it is also figuring out what kind of Tapu Bulu set this is.
Yeah.
It's not going to be choice card. The Brave Bird is not going to be enough to knock out the Incineroar. That's a really big deal. Manectric is also going to get the Volt Switch off, so that should knock out the Staraptor.
Yeah.
And even if the Bulu knocks out Incineroar here, like, the game is more or less over. And part of it, I think, is that this the team that Joseph has, it feels like a team like Gio doesn't want to go up against.
Not at all.
There's so much, you've got bulky things that can potentially survive the Final Gambit. You've got Fake Out, which is always so tough to deal with, as Virizion actually makes an appearance as well. And there's just, you're not going against like a hyper-offensive team where you can outspeed and knock everything out, but that Whatever actually
did a ton.
Ridiculous amount
Life
of damage.
Orb recoil, so it's Life Orb Bulu. So another set that Gio has preferred for much of the season, if not all of it. I really like Virizian's presence there, just because it's like, hey guys, I'm doing something. Yeah, it's a very difficult matchup, but I don't want to take away from how Gio's played or his ability to play. In my opinion, Gio is one of the most tenacious Pokemon players I've seen play. I don't think it was possible to not be a big fan of Gio after that last national play. And he was in a situation not too far off from this, where it looked like he should just forfeit, and then it was done, and then he nailed that best-of-3 set. So, Gio is definitely someone who can handle himself under pressure, and I really want to see the adaptations. English is hard, that he makes here. I don't know if Staraptor was really having that Incineroar positioning just out of the gate. Just Fake Out in general is the bane of Staraptor.
Yeah.
So but look at the contrary, right? You have 2 Grass Fairies and Incineroar.
That's what I was like. For me, the biggest issue is that Joseph has the Incineroar on his side, and not to mention the Braviary can get boosts from the opposing Incineroar or the Staraptor. And I think, like you mentioned, Staraptor is one of those Pokemon where we've seen it succeed actually, like in really random places, like throughout the years of VGC. But now that Intimidate Incineroar is out, not only do you have that fake out pressure like you mentioned, you also can actually knock it out with Final Gambit if the Incineroar's HP is decently high, which typically they are. And so I think for Geo, that first turn just didn't work out very well.
Not at all.
And he needs to be able to maybe read that a little bit better, because last time around, once the Incineroar came in, it seemed like he was in a really tough position. So he's going to have to try to figure out how to deal with it better.
Excellent. I mean, against this whole team, Incineroar is fantastic. He doesn't have a traditional Incineroar answer at all. And that's kind of, this team is very reminiscent of, the good stuffs, the heavy offense. It's just kind of like, I am going to attack and press buttons. He doesn't have a lot of real positioning plays. His positioning plays come from, I'm going to hit you, I'm going to hit you hard, and I hope that by the time you are hitting me back, I've hit you so hard that you aren't going to be able to hit me very hard.
Couldn't put it any better.
No, I don't think I could have.
But we do see the Incineroar and the Braviary lead come out this time from Joseph. It's going to be Whimsicott and Gengar, but once again, Incineroar just doesn't feel like it's threatened by anything. The Gengar is going to Mega Evolve, so going to get that trap going, but I think if you're Joseph right now, you don't even really feel pressure to switch out immediately. Otherwise, he knew the trap was most likely coming. Fake Out is going to target down that Whimsicott, so is going to get a little bit of chip damage. It's going to be an immediate Sludge Bomb coming out from the Gengar, targeting down that Braviary, but it is going to not get the knockout. Doesn't really come back close. Braviary here is going to come out, and let's see who it targets.
I think it's that Whim.
Yep.
So the early double tap, netting that quick KO.
And I like that, because Whimsicott's, that one of those Pokemon where it's just like, okay, if I get it out the field, and the Berry activates, it could not have been a better turn, honestly, for Joseph here, because it looks like he'll survive another Sludge Bomb at this range, too.
I mean, I have to imagine that Tapu Bulu at least has Superpower or something. There's no way you're that vulnerable to Incineroar, right? You must have some tech there that's just going to help you, and I imagine that Tapu Bulu is the Pokemon to come out here. The Sludge Bomb might be a damage roll, but I think you have to kind of try and commit to, all right, I'm going to Sludge Bomb Superpower you, hope I pick up at least enough damage here that I'm in any sort of position.
This is really dangerous, though, right? Because Braviary threatens Bulu potentially just with a one-shot, and Incineroar can potentially one-shot either of these 2 Pokemon. So not exactly the most favorable trade there for Geo on that first turn. The Berry on Braviary
that was so good.
So key. We often see like a Z move on Braviary just to hit really hard.
Yeah,
but the Berry,
Supersonic Sky Strike or something.
So that's so clutch there. So like you mentioned here, I think this next turn is honestly going to be really big. Geo's already behind, and he's not in exactly a very favorable position. If he loses one more Pokemon, and it seems like the momentum is just going to go too far into Joseph's favor, especially because he's got like these bulky Pokemon waiting in the back as well.
Yeah, I mean, part of the whole plan for Geo really here is to have that Shadow Tag prevent the switches.
Oh, the Braviary does survive the Sludge Bomb. And the Braviary actually is going to go next, so it is just going to get the Brave Bird off, probably targeting the Tapu Bulu. That might just knock it out, as it does. And
that's
think
a trade
this game,
you take.
Yeah, absolutely. So Braviary is going to faint, but the fact it was able to get the KO on Bulu before it even moved means that Incineroar is still just sitting so healthy. Knockoff is going to come out. That probably gets the knockout on the Gengar, as it does.
Brutal.
And I think if you're Joseph, you could not be more content with how the game has played out so far.
Oh, yeah, if I'm Joseph, I'm very happy.
And I think it's really difficult. You can look at this game. It's like, oh, yeah, Joseph just kind of destroyed him. But it's like there just weren't very good answers on Geo's end. He did not really have any tools at his in his hands. And Scizor, it's funny because Scizor actually wouldn't have helped remotely at all.
Not even a little bit.
The Incineroar on Joseph's end was just too much to deal with in combination with so many. Like Braviary was also so good. And then you have these bulky Pokemon like the Tapu Fini, like the Virizion waiting in the back. So it's going to be a very quick second game.
Yeah,
we are going to see Joseph move on to the top 4.
Congrats to Joseph. Like, you had all the pieces and you played them all quite well. That in the second game, Incineroar didn't even take a hit.
Yeah, not a single one.
There's just nothing really there to do it.
Right. What can you hit it with, right? Like other than maybe a low kick from Incineroar or a superpower, and neither of those will even get the knockout, right? So it's like Gengar's literally not going to do anything. Whimsicott, you can't do any prankster moves against the Incineroar because it's Dark type. One of the newer mechanics that we've seen. So those two absolutely useless. So I think that was already such an uphill battle for Geo just from the Incineroar alone, and then you add Braviary to it with the Berry, and then like Rizian and all the Pokemon that Joseph.
Yeah,
it
just
was just
all the
and
pieces, really.
Yeah. But I think it's also important to give credit to Joseph because even
Yes.
if you have a really good matchup, like you were saying, you still got to play your cards right.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like you can just stop thinking and just like press buttons. Like you still have to be like, oh, okay, well, like the position is like this, and Incineroar looks great.
Right.
Let's just do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Incineroar is brutal. There was really just no way to break it. And, Joseph moves on to top 4. Congratulations. I imagine Gio not too mad. He did clinch his Worlds invite today.
Yep.
Definitely.
Did it with 5 Pokemon.
Did it with 5 Pokemon. He had a good time. Definitely something where you can go home and look at your team and be like, oh, I really am Incineroar.
Right. And I think, people might be like, oh, how can he not account for Incineroar? But one thing to notice, after Sao Paulo last weekend, there was one Incineroar in that top 8. So many teams have been countering Incineroar so hard where maybe Gio was trying to make a meta call saying, okay, Incineroar, I think people are going to use less because everyone has these counters now. You've got Milotic, you've got Bisharp, you've got just so many different answers. Special Landers picking up in popularity.
Yeah.
Z-move Landers as well.
Yeah, that's
Rain.
like Rage, Lando.
So sometimes, it might look weird to be so weak to one certain theme, but I think it's really important to think about it in the context of the metagame. Sure, he had one bad set, but overall, clearly he was able to win a lot of games with the team throughout the course of the day. So that's just kind of what goes into preparation for a tournament.
And I think really this this roadblock is something that you might see with Gio's playstyle just a little bit, because the way I interpret Gio's playstyle is that it's very oppressive and that he tries to force you into decisions. With Gengar, this is by removing or switching options and going very heavy-handed with a early offense. While with Eevee, it's, well, now you have to attack this Eevee, and if you can't, well, I'm going to win.
Right. And, I also want to move on just to talk a little bit about Joseph, who was, of course, the winner of that, I think. Really cool team. I like his team a lot because it's one of those teams where it's I'm not going to be one-shotting you at any point for the most part. But I'm going to be able to chip you really slowly, or not even really slowly, but one piece at a time. And there's so much defensive synergy. You've got Intimidate from the Incineroar. You've got Mega Manectric, which can Snarl, which can swap back out with Volt Switch, which also has Intimidate. And you've got just so many different typing synergies there.
Yeah, that's the perfect answer to sort of Gio's heavy-handed offense.
Exactly. And I think we are, wrapping up the top 8 here. And, of course, we are playing the entire tournament today. So
get ready.
We'll be moving on to the top 4 very shortly. We'll be streaming both of those, so don't go anywhere.